Last week in previews and predictions, I correctly predicted only 1 out of 7 games. 1. So if I had to give myself a rating, it would definitely have to be a no mama's way. However, the positives in all of this is that I have nowhere else to go but up, baby. So let's do this. First up, Tottenham versus Manchester City. Fresh off of a win in Russia against CSKA Moscow in the Champions League, which I'll be honest, it was nice to see Spurs put that Europa League experience to good use since they're usually playing in that part of the world in Europe's second best club competition. Tottenham are going to have some nice momentum heading home to partake in the biggest game in the Premier League this weekend against the undefeated Manchester City. However, Spurs have played against 2 top opponents at home this season, against Liverpool where they drew 1-1 even though they should have lost that game, and they did lose to Monaco 2-1 after being up 1-0. So their momentum, especially from the very in-form Heung-min Son who scored 3 goals in his last 2 games, might not mean jack shit. However, City's coming off a shock 3-3 draw against Celtic in the Champions League, a Celtic team that lost to Barcelona 7-0 a few weeks ago, so City could and should be kicking themselves for letting the emotional Celtic use that emotion in a positive way to get a result. But City are the best team in England until proven otherwise, and I just don't think Spurs can hang with them for a full 90 minutes, even without Kevin De Bruyne and Vincent Kompany. So my prediction for the final score is going to be City 2, Spurs 1, and there's going to be a lot of salty Spurs fans who really want their team to be considered one of the best in England, but they just never are. Next up, Roma versus Inter Milan. Similar to Spurs, 7th place Roma are coming off a good win in the midweek to host a difficult opponent, which in this case, the opponent is 3rd place Inter Milan. But Inter, like City, are coming off a very disappointing midweek performance, and it's yet to be determined how they're going to respond to their poor defensive display against an inferior opponent. They lost to Sparta Prague 3-1. And how they're going to respond to their new manager's criticism, because not all teams and players respond very well when managers air out all of their frustrations in the media, which happened to me once, and I was at home reading the paper, flipping through, checking everything out, and it was the day after a game, and all of a sudden I get to the article about our team, and our coach has thrown the defense under the bus, thrown me under the bus about a poor performance. And I just didn't get it. I don't understand why you would go that route. Why not just pull me aside, talk to me man to man about what needs to be fixed or how I can do better, and then we can go from there. I've since learned that this is a purposeful tactic this manager uses to try to motivate his players by criticizing them in the media. But for me, it does nothing. If I see my coach publicly humiliating me, why am I gonna wanna go play harder for him? Does he have my back or does he not? And when you say stupid shit in the newspaper, it just doesn't feel like you have my back. And then the other guys on the team see it, and now it's more of a sense of fear than of coming together. Because like, oh, I don't want to be thrown under the bus in the paper. If it can happen to him, then it can happen to any of us. And you're just playing for the wrong reasons. Instead of building each other up and supporting each other, and this manager still has a job, but it's just not a tactic I agree with. Anyway, I don't know if you guys are into trends and stats, but Roma has won every other league game this season. They started off with a win, then they drew, then they won, then they lost, then they won, then they lost, which means they are due for a win. They are at home, and they're facing off against a team that seems a little vulnerable at the moment as they try to find a new identity under boss Frank de Boer. So my prediction, my final score, Roma 1, Inter 0. Up next, Bayern Munich versus FC Köln. It's a battle between current top of the table leaders and, let's be honest, the eventual champions of the Bundesliga this season, Super Bayern Munich, against current 3rd place and eventual mid-table finishers, Köln. So let's take it to the fun facts. Both teams have yet to lose a game this season. They have the 2 best defenses in the league. Bayern has only given up 1 goal through 5 games, and Köln has only given up 2. And neither club is as hated as RB Leipzig. But enough of the fun facts, let's get to the here and now. With Bayern having to travel to Spain and back in the midweek, only to lose yet again to Atletico Madrid in the Champions League, they could be feeling defeated, both mentally and physically, because that had to be a draining experience. Atleti's a very tough team. I mean, think about it, if they had won, they would have come back to this game buzzing. They would have been feeling so good about themselves. So I think this is as good a time as any for Köln to go to the Allianz Arena and get a result. However, I heard that Köln manager Peter Stoger is considering switching his 4-4-2 formation to a 3-5-2 so that his team can get tighter to Super Bayern super wingers, and no. From my experience, switching a formation that is clearly having success to accommodate an opponent rarely works. If anything, it subtly clearly tells your team that you as a manager don't believe that they're good enough. And then on the field, your spacing with your teammates is different than it usually is, and that's just hard enough. And then when you add in the fact that you're playing the top team in the league, one of the best clubs in the world, it is just a recipe for disaster. So no, Peter Stoger, don't do it. So my prediction, if Cologne plays with a back three, which don't do it, Bayern's gonna win 3 and Cologne will probably get 1, maybe just get 1. They've been pretty good going forward. If they stick with their formation and a back 4, I could see them getting a result. So Bayern 1, Cologne 1. And finally, my quick hits. The once very solid, now in relative shambles after firing their 9th manager in the last 4 years, I believe that Valencia finally have some reason to be optimistic. After losing their first 4 games of the season, they've put together 2 back-to-back wins, which is good news for their new boss, former Italian national team manager Cesar Prandelli, who I think is going to be a very good fit for this club. And if they can beat Atleti this weekend, it would be a huge boost, especially in the confidence department as they look to turn around their season. So my final score, my prediction is going to be Valencia 1, Atletico Madrid 1. But wait, hold up, I know what I just said, but it's gonna be one of those 1-1s that feels like a win because they're gonna score late to tie it up. And everybody's gonna be like, oh my god, we're like the best team ever, we're gonna totally turn it around, go Cesar Prandelli! Okay, for this one, and with all due respect for everyone that is in the Eastern Conference, these 2 teams that are on top of the Western Conference are the 2 best teams in MLS. But both teams have been subpar as of late, so I don't even know why I'm hyping them, but I know it's gonna be a great game. FC Dallas have struggled in the league since coming off the high of winning the US Open Cup trophy, and the Galaxy have notched only 1 win out of 4 games since the triumphant return of their hero, Landon Donovan. However, since Dallas have lost only 1 home game all season, and that was the last time they played at home, I just don't see it happening again. So my final score, my prediction is gonna be FC Dallas 2, the LA Galaxy 1. All right, that's it. I'm only doing 5 this time because I think it'll increase my odds. I think, I hope, maybe, shit. I don't know. So my question to all of you is, what games will you be watching and what will the result be? Pick 5 games like me and pick those results, and if you do better than I do, which isn't gonna be possible because I'm gonna get all 5 of those right this weekend, then I will drop your name on Monday's show and talk about how awesome you are. Okay, I'm done talking. Good luck. Later. What's up everyone? It is your favorite former US men's national team player, Jimmy Conrad, and I am doing something for the very first time. I am doing a career mode on FIFA 17.